What's going on, guys? It's Brandon back here again for the Finalist video. Yesterday we had the champion video for the Florida Panthers. Today we have the 2023-24 Stanley Cup Finalist video for the Edmonton Oilers. The Edmonton Oilers this year, I had high expectations for them in previous years. I didn't have them going to the final this year. I still had them in the Final Four, I believe. But the record of 49-27-6 with 104 points was coached part by Jay Woodcroft, who went 3-9-1 and kind of saved the franchise after Todd McClellan, I believe it was that. No, it wasn't McClellan. It was someone got fired and a couple years ago, and then Woodcroft took over and made everything better. And now he had a rough start. They were the worst team in hockey for a bit. And then Chris Knobloch took over and went 46-18-5 and turned the whole season around for the Oilers. The captain, of course, was Connor McDavid. Goals for, they were 4th, 294. And goals against, they were 10th for 237. And this team's special teams were lethal and out on the board. The penalty kill was one of the greatest we've ever seen in the playoffs. Yes, the Edmonton Oilers penalty kill was one of the greatest penalty kills in the playoffs ever. Power play, when you have a big five like they do, of course it's going to be lethal. They were 2nd in the Pacific, 5th in the West, 9th in the league. If they don't get off to that 3-9-1 start, they probably are higher on the board. And that's why they're very heavy favorites for the Cup going into next year. In terms of how the season went, in the first round they played the LA Kings for the 3rd year in a row in the first round. 2022 they won in 7, 2023 they won in 6, so of course in 2024 they win in 5. They win 7-4 in Game 1 before losing 5-4 in overtime in Game 2. Then they win 6-1, 1-0, and 4-3 to eliminate the Kings. Then they play their country brethren in the Vancouver Canucks, who they play a 7-game series against. They lose 5-4 in Game 1. They win 4-3 in overtime in Vancouver in Game 2. Vancouver wins that game. The series is over. They lose 4-3 at home in Game 3 before winning 3-2, so back and forth. And once again back and forth, and they lose Game 5 in Vancouver 3-2. But they win 5-1 and 3-2 in Game 6 and 7 in Vancouver to advance to the conference final for the first time since 2022, where they play the Dallas Stars, very heavy favorites. Not very heavy, but definitely favorites to go to the final with the roster they had. And in Game 1, they win 3-2 in double overtime. And that kind of takes the wind out of the sails, because once again, if Dallas wins that game, the series is over. Because they win 3-1 and 5-3 in Edmonton for Dallas as they take a 2-1 series lead. So they were tied with Edmonton at one point. They were down 1-0, 2-1, and 3-2 to the Kings. They come back and win that. They were down 2-1 to the Stars before winning 5-2, 3-1, and 2-1 to advance to this first Stanley Cup final since 2006. Against the Panthers, they go down 3-0 as they lose 3-0 in Game 1, 4-1 in Game 2, and then at home they lose 4-3 in Game 3. They then win 8-1 in Game 4, which is the game changer. They win 5-3 in Game 5, and they win 5-1 at home in Game 6. In Florida, they cannot pull off the reverse sweep, 2-1 victory, but Connor McDavid walks away with the Conn Smythe even though they lose the Stanley Cup. And what a performance from the Oilers. I have nothing but wow. What a run they went on. Would I say they probably deserved the Stanley Cup? Yes. Would I say Florida also deserved the Stanley Cup? Yes. Two very hard-fought teams. We had a 7-game Stanley Cup final. We had comebacks. We had everything you could ask for in a playoff run you got with the Edmonton Oilers. In terms of point scorers, you know the drill. We're going to go through the top 10 for the Oilers. The reason why I chose 10 here, because there's a big drop-off. There's a lot of guys. I got everyone above 30 points, and after that it just kind of falls apart. Kind of like how I did everyone that, like I did 14 for the Panthers because they had that much. They just have more depth, and that's why there was a fall off there. Same with the playoffs. I did the top 10 before the fall off happens. McDavid in 76 games, 32 goals, 100 assists, 132 points. Another fantastic season from him. And one thing you'll realize on this, not everyone is healthy the entire season. Foegele is the only guy to play all 82 games in their top 10 scorers. They play every game in the playoffs, but Fogel's the only one in the regular season. Draisaitl in 81 games, 41 goals, 65 assists, 106 points. Bouchard, 81 games, 18 goals, 64 assists, 82 points. What a career boost we've seen from him. I think being mentored by Duncan Keith has helped him a lot, and he might become a better defenseman than Duncan Keith was. And I'm not saying that as a guy who has him on my wall right above, on a shelf right above here. I have a plaque with his Norris Trophy win. He's a future Norris winner, Bouchard. Hyman in 80 games, 54 goals, 23 assists, 77 points. So what a season from Zach Hyman. If he can continue those numbers, I can see some Hall of Fame consideration. Of course, he is later into his career than, of course, Sam Reinhart is, as I mentioned in the previous video. But if he could put up 50 goals multiple seasons, let's say the next 2-3 seasons as he starts to get older and continues putting up great numbers after that, there's going to be some serious consideration for how he played in the second half of his career. Nugent Hopkins in 80 games, 18 goals, 49 assists, 67 points. Longest tenured Oiler on this team, aside from Sam Gagner, who's made pit stops along the way in other places. Ekholm in 79 games, 11 goals, 34 assists, 45 points. Evander Kane, 24 goals, 20 assists, 44 points in 77 games. Fogle, who played 82 games, 20 goals, 21 assists, 41 points. Nurse, 81 games played, although the people don't like him. 10 goals, 22 assists, 32 points. While it's not justifying of $9.25 million, he's not as bad as people make him out to be. And McLeod, 81 games, 12 goals, 18 assists, 30 points. Skinner in the regular season went in 59 games, 36, 16, and 5 with a .905 save percentage and a 2.62 goals against. Calvin Pickard, 23 games played, 12, 7, and 1 with a .909 save percentage and a 2.45 goals against. I'm so happy for Calvin Pickard. I had always liked him as a goaltender, and I thought he could always do pretty well. And he's finally getting a chance in Edmonton. He's now permanently their backup as they re-signed him. And then Jack Campbell, the failed experiment. 5 games, 1 goal, 1 win, 4 losses, and no OT losses, but an .873 save percentage and a 4.50 goals against average. He is bought out, and he's now headed to Detroit on a leagueman deal. McLeod ends up being traded to Buffalo, along with a minor leaguer, I think it was Tullio, for Matthew Savoy, a very top prospect in Buffalo. So will Savoy slot into that top 6 or top 9? Of course, Holloway's going to be a lot more prominent now. Holloway's not on the board, but his playoffs justified, I thought, putting him into top 6, top 9 conversation of forwards. And of course, Fogel's going to need replacement as he's off to LA on a deal as well. So those are your 3 guys going from that are on the board. In terms of playoff scoring, McDavid leads the way, of course. 25 games played, 8 goals, 34 assists, 42 points. Everyone played 25 games here, so I'm not going to mention the games played. Bouchard, 6 goals, 26 assists, 32 points. Both of them shattered records that were set by previous establishments. McDavid by Gretzky, Bouchard by Orr. Draisaitl, 10 goals, 21 assists, 31 points. Hyman leads the playoffs in goals with 16 goals, 6 assists, 22 points. That's the most goals in a playoff run in the salary cap era, I believe. Nugent Hopkins, 7 goals, 15 assists, 22 points as well. So 5 guys with over 20 points. Then the drop-off happens. Ekholm, 5 goals, 5 assists, 10 points. Janmark, who's not on this side. Janmark is a playoff performer. He's had some decent regular seasons, but he really comes out in the playoffs. 4 goals, 4 assists, 8 points. Kane, 4 goals, 4 assists, 8 points as well. Fogle, 3 goals, 5 assists, 8 points. And Kulak, 1 goal, 7 assists, 8 points. Another guy who's not on this side but came up big in the playoffs. McLeod is not on this side. Nurse is not on this side. I think those are the only 2. In terms of Hall of Famers, just like in the last video with the Panthers, I'm going to do a kind of a recap of guys who I think can make the Hall of Fame of the 2022 Lightning, the 2023 Panthers, and the 2024 Oilers. For the Lightning, Stamkos, Kucherov, Hedman, Vasilevsky, Perry. All 5 of those guys should be in the Hall of Fame. I couldn't really make an argument or put a maybe for anyone else there. For the Panthers, I mentioned yesterday, this is pretty much the same, but Barkov, Bobrovsky, Tkachuk, Eric Stahl, who was on that team, so I added him, and maybe Reinhart if he continues his production the way it's been going. I don't see Verhaeghe at this point making the Hall of Fame, but there's been bigger mysteries, such as Shea Weber. I would put Shea Weber in the Hall of Fame over Carter Verhaeghe, just to say. 2024, Edmonton Oilers, your Hall of Famers, I put 3 definites. McDavid, Draisaitl, Perry, and maybe Bouchard and Hyman, again, if they continue their careers as the standard right here is what they can do. Bouchard, I think, can do it. He's young. Hyman, I'm not so sure. I can see him not being in the Hall of Fame. But that's going to be all I have for you guys in this one. I want to thank you all so much for watching this video. In the comments below, do you think Edmonton can win the Cup next year? Because I think they're heavy favorites. Right now, I'd say they're even my pick to win the Stanley Cup. This is the last year before Draisaitl's contract is up. So I can definitely see them making one all-in push while they still have this cap that they can before Draisaitl makes a lot more money. And McDavid's up as well, I believe, in 2026. So money everywhere for the Oilers. And I didn't even mention Skinner and Pickard. Skinner, 23 games played, 14-9 with a 901 save percentage and a 2.445 goals against average. Pickard in 3 games was 1-1 with a 915 save percentage and a 2.21 goals against average. Now we're done here. I want to thank you all so much for watching this video. Leave your thoughts down below, and I shall see you all in the next one. Have a good one.